There are people walking among us who are not who they used to be. They carry the same name, speak with the same voice, and sleep in the same bed as the one who came before. But if you look closely, something is different. Their eyes are calmer. Their movements more deliberate. The memories they once clung to now seem distant, blurred at the edges, like the echo of a movie they barely remember watching. Some of them wake up after a coma and no longer recognize the life they used to chase. Others rise from the pit of a long depression with a sudden clarity, a renewed purpose that has no logical explanation. In some cases, they survive an accident, a near-death experience, a serious illness, and on the other side of that darkness, they return as someone else entirely. This is not amnesia. This is not a miracle. This is a walk-in. It is a phenomenon rarely spoken aloud, yet more common than most would dare to believe. A sacred silent exchange in which one soul, having completed its karmic mission within a body, gently steps aside, allowing another soul to enter, to continue the life without starting over. The body remains. The name remains. But the soul behind the eyes is new. If this idea unsettles you, that's because your mind is still operating within the framework of linear incarnation. You've been taught that one life equals one soul, beginning at birth and ending at death, and that all the pain in between belongs to one unbroken identity. But what if that narrative is incomplete? What if the soul is not bound to a single timeline, and the body is not an unchanging vessel, but a living agreement, one that can shift, adapt, and host something new when the original contract is done? This is not theory. This is remembrance. You may not have had words for it before. You may have explained it away as spiritual awakening or personal reinvention. But now you're starting to wonder why your personality changed so dramatically after that hospital stay. Why the music you used to love suddenly grated on your nerves. Why you stopped craving the same food, desiring the same people, or believing in the same version of God. You may remember the day everything turned, not as an explosion, but as a quiet severing. A before and after stitched together only by skin. Walk-in souls do not arrive with fanfare. They arrive quietly like a breeze that clears the fog. They come not to steal but to serve. They take on the remaining years of a life already in motion, carrying out a new purpose that begins where the last one ended. The transition, though gentle on the metaphysical level, can be disorienting on the human plane. Family may sense something is off. Friends may drift away. Old hobbies fall flat. And the walk-in may find themselves both free and unmoored, suddenly carrying a body and a name that no longer reflect their frequency. But with time the alignment settles. New purpose emerges. New resonance appears. The walk-in begins to attract people, projects, and environments that match the soul they now carry. They begin to speak differently, feel differently, and most of all see differently. They are not better or more evolved. They are simply here to serve a different role, one that could not be fulfilled by the soul that came before. Sometimes the original soul steps aside willingly, a mutual agreement made on the soul level, often before birth. In these cases, the walk-in transition is smooth, guided, and encoded with grace. Other times, the change is catalyzed by trauma, a near-death experience, emotional collapse, or crisis of identity so profound that the original soul chooses to exit early. And in rare instances, the walk-in is not a new soul at all, but a higher dimensional aspect of the same soul returning in greater awareness, reclaiming the body like an instrument now ready for a different symphony. You might be surprised to know how many people around you have experienced this shift without ever naming it. They say things like, "I don't feel like the same person anymore," or "I feel like I died and came back new." They laugh differently. Their handwriting changes. Their relationships dissolve. And when asked to explain what happened, all they can say is, "I just woke up." The reason most people never speak of this experience is not because they lack the awareness. It's because they lack the language. Western psychology may call it dissociation or identity reinvention. Spiritual traditions might call it enlightenment or ego death. But beneath those labels is a singular, unmistakable truth. Something changed at the core. The one who made choices before is no longer the one making them now. A woman wakes from a coma after a car crash. Before the accident, she was a hard-driving lawyer, addicted to caffeine and control, obsessed with winning. After she can't stand cities. She cries when she sees trees. She begins painting galaxies without ever learning how to draw. She leaves her firm, sells her car and moves to a forest cabin, where she quietly helps strangers heal, without a business plan, without explanation. A man suffers a prolonged depressive episode in his late 30s. After years of grayness, he wakes up one morning and something has clicked. His thoughts are quiet for the first time in years. He walks differently, speaks more slowly. His eyes are calm. He no longer feels connected to the stories of his childhood, the ambitions he once held, the relationships that used to define him. His wife says he seems like a stranger, and he agrees, but he cannot describe why. He simply knows that whoever he was, left. These are not metaphors. These are not cases of reinventing yourself. These are transfers of consciousness, soul-level changes. And while walk-ins are not common in a statistical sense, they are becoming more frequent. Especially now, as Earth undergoes its frequency shift and more souls step forward to assist with the collective transition. But the walk-in journey is not always graceful. Begins often in confusion. The walk-in soul must first orient itself within a body it did not grow inside. The cells remember one frequency, the new soul carries another. The mind still echoes the beliefs and patterns of the former occupant. There is sometimes physical discomfort, emotional disconnect, or mental fog. The walk-in may feel detached from their own memories, as if watching scenes from a movie rather than remembering lived experience. They may not cry at the same losses. They may not be triggered by the same fears. They may forget how to relate to the people who once made them feel safe. In truth, those relationships were not formed for them, but for the soul that came before. This can lead to isolation, grief, even guilt. The walk-in may ask, why don't I care anymore about the people I'm supposed to love? Or why can't I connect with my past? And the answer is both simple and profound, because it wasn't your past. The karmic cords in many cases have been released. The contracts fulfilled. The soul who walked out left behind a body, a story and name, but not an obligation. And when the walk-in begins to accept this truth, a new kind of life begins. Not better, not higher, simply different. Walk-ins often come in with missions that are urgent. They bring through accelerated frequencies, creative visions, spiritual codes, or healing resonance that the original soul either could not embody or was not ready to fulfill. That does not make the first soul lesser. It means the vehicle had reached a handoff point. The shift is not punishment. It is evolution. And yet, most walk-ins never know what's happened. They sense the change. They question their own minds. But without language, they assume something must be wrong with them. So they try to go back to who they were, reconnect with old friends, revisit their childhood hobbies, return to their former routines, and each time, it feels hollow, flat, like stepping into a costume that no longer fits. Because it doesn't. Walk-in souls are here to build forward, not to replicate the past. And once that acceptance settles in, the grief softens, the clarity sharpens, and the energy of true purpose begins to rise. So how do you know if you are a walk-in? There is no simple checklist. No universal rule. But the clues are often clear once you stop denying them. You remember a precise turning point in your life, a trauma, a breakdown, an illness, a moment when everything stopped, and you know in your heart that you were not the same after. Your memories feel distant or strangely irrelevant. You know what happened, but it no longer feels like you lived it. Your interests, diet, personality, or spiritual beliefs changed rapidly in a way that cannot be explained by aging or influence. Your closest relationships began to fall away, not through drama, but through an energetic misalignment you couldn't prevent. You now carry a calm, mission-like energy, even if you can't define it. There's a subtle pull inward, a sense that you're here for something, but it's not personal success or validation. It's something quieter, broader. If even a part of this feels familiar, not as a theory but as a truth you already knew but never had words for, then perhaps what you've experienced is not a breakdown, but a handover. And now, as we come closer to the end of this message, I want to offer you something not as a conclusion, but as a doorway, because woken souls do not arrive just to understand, but to activate. You don't need anyone else to confirm this for you. The body already knows. The shift already happened. Whether it was years ago or just yesterday, whether you embraced it or resisted it, the soul now speaking through your skin is no longer asking for validation. It is asking for integration. It doesn't want to explain itself to the world. It doesn't need applause or acknowledgement. What it longs for is simple and sacred. To inhabit the space fully, to speak with its own voice, and to complete what it came here to complete without distraction, distortion, or delay. This is not a story you need to tell everyone. Most people won't understand. They are still living under the illusion that soul and body are chained together, from cradle to coffin, like a script written in blood. But you know better. You've lived the rupture. You've survived the severing. And you've stepped into a life already in motion, one where the memories were inherited but not earned, one where the name on the passport remains, but the essence behind it has completely changed. You are not here to justify that change. You are here to live it. And so, as this transmission nears its end, I offer you not more information, but stillness. A moment to listen inward, not for answers, but for recognition. Close your eyes, if you feel safe. Take a deep, long breath through your nose, and let it go slowly, as if you're exhaling something that was never yours to carry. Place your awareness in your chest, not the heart as a muscle, but the space just behind the sternum, the place where breath turns into being. Notice what is there. You might feel warmth. You might feel emptiness. You might feel a strange neutrality, the absence of story. That is where the soul sits, not the one who was, but the one who is. Ask quietly, without effort. Am I the original soul? Or have I arrived later? To finish what was started? Don't demand an answer. Just allow the space. You may not hear words. You may feel a sensation, a flicker of recognition, a gentle hum. Or perhaps you'll feel nothing, yet find yourself waking tomorrow with a different kind of knowing. That is how woken souls operate. Not through drama but through resonance. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are a soul in motion, one who said yes when the call came to step into an unfinished path, to hold the light in a story that needed one last turning point, and to complete what another began. Not for glory but for grace. This is your life now. It may not have started with you, but it will end because of you. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between stars, the soul who stepped aside is watching. Not with regret, but with reverence, knowing they passed the torch to someone strong enough to finish the race. And that someone is you.